And I just tell people, do what you love, and everything else will follow. My mother and my grandmother both always told me, it is not your job to be rich, it is your job to be happy.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kitchen Chat TV. I'm Margaret McSweeney, here with someone who needs no introduction, the legendary Chef Carla Hall. It's so great to see you.
Thank you, Margaret. It's great to be here.
Oh, you have been busy in and out of the kitchen and on and off the red carpet, I might say.
Literally on and off the red carpet at the Oscars, which was so incredible. And now I'm here at IACP. This is my first conference, so I'm meeting all of these people that I've seen in other conferences, and so it's really great to be here.
Oh, well, it's so wonderful to see you, and thank you for spending some time with us here on Kitchen Chat. Before we jump into your questions, and so many have been coming in for you, if you could just give us a little bit of background. You have, of course, you're on the Chew, everyone knows that, and then also your restaurant. Can you tell us about that?
So I opened Carla Hall's Southern Kitchen in June of last year. And I'm from Nashville, so it's sort of like a love letter to Nashville. It is Nashville-style hot chicken and southern sides. One of the things that we do differently, it's soul food, but all the sides are vegetarian. So our beans, our collards, it's all vegetarian, and we have amazing cornbread and biscuits and nana pudding, but we also place an emphasis on vegetables, and I try to make the food the same way that my grandmother, my great-grandmother would have made it, being that they would have had gardens. So it's not it's fried chicken, come on. It's fried chicken, but I really try to have a sense of like pure and healthiness, and we source our ingredients, and so our cornmeal, for instance, comes from Beaver Dam Creek, Tennessee. So it's milled 24 hours before we get it, and so that's the thought behind everything in the restaurant.
Yes. Now, is there a special childhood dish that you just love and you've included on your menu?
The one dish that I think about whenever I make it is the cornbread, and the cornbread signifies that it's almost time to eat. Whenever we would go to Sunday suppers at my grandmother's house in Lebanon, Tennessee, she would never make the cornbread until she saw our faces. I'm like, oh, but she knows we're coming every Sunday around 1:30. Granny, why can't you make the cornbread? So I always saw her making the cornbread. Everything else would be slow cooked throughout the morning. So when I would get there, the cast iron skillet would be in the oven. She'd put the oil in there, and she'd make the batter, and then as soon as she was pouring that batter into the cast iron skillet, and it would roll up on the sides of the cast iron, it starts to get bubbly, and you knew that was going to be the crunchy bit. I'm like, yes, I'm going to be eating in 20 minutes.
Oh, what a special memory. And of course, you have cornbread on the menu?
Yes, we have delicious cornbread, and it happens to be gluten-free. Not because I'm trying to be gluten-free correct, but just because I never put flour in my cornbread.
You never put flour. So what do you put?
Fat. It's cornmeal, eggs, sour cream, and then cream corn.
Oh,
Yeah.
This sounds delicious. And I'm going to make sure we put a link to her restaurant so you can visit when you're in New York, right?
Mm-hmm. That's in Brooklyn, New York. It's in Red Hook. It's right on the water. And when you come into the restaurant, it really feels you steps outside of New York and into the South.
I love that. So a little bit about the Chew. Can you give us a sense of what it's like?
You know, the one thing that people always ask us is, are you having as much fun as it looks? And are you all really good friends? We're all good friends. We do things outside of work. We have fun. I'm basically getting paid to sit around and shoot the shit, with my friends and eat. Yeah, and it's really funny. We have celebrities come, and I think the best celebrities are those people who have a connection to food, and they actually have a story, and we really try to give them a food memory or make something that they love or that they want to learn how to make. And so that's how that comes together. A lot of times people wonder, so why are you making this particular dish for that person? And usually it's because there's some kind of connection.
I love that. And what is a new food memory that some of your co-hosts have created for you?
Okay, a couple things. Mario made these olive oil mashed potatoes. I'm like, olive oil mashed potatoes, being from the South, we do cream and butter. So he made these mashed potatoes with olive oil. I'm like, what? Delicious. And Daphne makes this, and I love my grandmother's pound cake, but she makes this like coconut pound cake that is to die for, which I started making. I love it so much. Not to mention her sticky wings. I mean, Daphne, the fresh face of health, making some like sticky chicken wings, but
That sounds delicious. And also, you've been busy too in the business world of things. You're going to be a featured speaker at the upcoming Fancy Food Specialty Food Summit.
Yes, so I'm really excited about that. And this talk that I'm doing at the Specialty Food Summit is all about inspiration and inspiring. And I share my stories of joys and falls, and I mean, there have been times where I've been in the shower crying, but I've gotten up from that and I've learned from that, and I always share those stories because I'm like, there's somebody out there struggling. I'm 52. This being here didn't happen by accident. It was a lot of work, but it was also a lot of heart and things and I just tell people, do what you love and everything else will follow. My mother and my grandmother both always told me, it is not your job to be rich, it is your job to be happy.
That is such sage advice. Truly, I love that. And I've seen firsthand the inspiration you've had on others, just sitting here at the conference, everyone coming up to you, and this one gentleman just sharing from his heart. Thank you for impacting so many people and just connecting. And it is about connecting, especially here on Kitchen Chat and sharing food around the table and conversation. And speaking of sharing food around the table and questions, thank you for sending them in. We have a little bit of a list. Kathleen Smith writes in, when you season chicken, pork, beef, what are seasonings that add flavor besides salt and pepper?
Well, Kathleen, I think you can run the gamut. In my second book, Carla's Comfort Foods, I have a list of different spices, like different cuisines. So it depends. If you want to go Asian, you're going to probably use ginger. You're going to use chilies. You're going to use maybe lime, cilantro. Let's say if you want to go, I don't know, Hungarian, you'll use paprika. You may use some poppy seeds. So it depends on. You start with the cuisine that you want to use. So it could be anything. If you Mexican, cumin, you're going to do tomatoes. So I think the world is your oyster. You just decide what spices you like. So there's not one direction.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Mary Spear wrote in, my chicken is always overcooked. I've tried multiple recipes but can't get it right. Any tips would be appreciated.
Okay. Are you using boneless, skinless chicken breast? There's no recovery. A lot of times I think people think that they have to cook the chicken until it's died a second death because they don't want to get sick. The fact of the matter is, if you are using a sauce, let's say you're searing your chicken and then you're putting it in a sauce, you don't finish cooking it with that first sear. You know that it's going to continue to cook when you add the sauce. So it's like sear it and then put it in. And maybe the best thing that I can say is use a thermometer. So according to the USDA, it says cook the chicken to 165, an internal temperature of 165. If you're doing that, you're not considering the residual heat. Let's say cook it to a temperature of 155, 158, taking it off the heat. The residual heat will finish cooking it so that it's not overcooked. So hopefully that helps.
Oh, yes, and Mary, let us know and send us a picture of your wonderful new chicken dish.
And then cook the chicken on the bone. Bones are good. Bones are flavor.
Perfect. Mary Randolph Dale writes in, what types of fish are least stinky and easiest to prepare?
Okay, so we talked about overcooking the chicken. When you overcook fish, it's going to stink. So a lot of times it's the oil in the fish. I think like bluefish, for instance, has any of that dark, like the dark bloodline that runs through the fish. That's probably going to be really stinky. If you take that out, you're taking out a lot of those oils that really cause the fish to stink. And maybe you cut that out, and then just cooking your fish is just until it's done. Whitefish tends to not be as stinky. I think salmon, any oily fishes are stinky. And it's because fat is a flavor carrier. So fat holds in that flavor. So those oily fishes are going to be a little fishier. But if you don't overcook it, it's not going to be as stinky.
Wonderful. And in case you do get the stink, any tips on how to get rid of it?
Well, you can move. No, I'm just kidding. So you can charcoal, any kind of a charcoal, an odor absorber.
Okay.
So maybe while you're making the fish, you can get one of those little sachets that has charcoal, and so it will absorb all those odors.
Terrific. Thank you, Mary, for your question. Carol Zamora writes in, how do you plan your meals? 1 week in advance or more spontaneous? And what is your favorite non-dairy chicken recipe?
Wow. I am spontaneous because I live in 2 different cities. It's like 1 couple, 2 kitchens. So I tend to be inspired by either something I saw on the chew or what I see in the market. But I understand if people have families, they have to plan ahead. And it may be that you go to the store and you have a big package of chicken, and then on that day, maybe you can portion out that chicken, put it into Ziploc bags, and write on there what you might want to do with it, because then you don't have to think in the moment, which actually helps you plan those meals. Non-dairy chicken dish. Wow, that's a lot. I mean, there are a lot. I think that you can do chicken with tomatoes and olives and garlic, kind of sort of Italian, Greek, throw in some herbs at the end and sort of stew your chicken. That would be delicious. I don't really have a lot of dairy chicken dishes, actually.
Oh.
So another thing that's really fun, if you have a tenderloin or chicken, you cook the chicken, you sear it, and then you have a lot of fresh herbs, and then you roll it in those fresh herbs, which would be really delicious and poppy, and just adding that sense of freshness at the end.
That sounds delicious. And one other question, Cindy Mayo writes in, healthy quick dinners for 2.
Oh, healthy quick dinners for 2. Cindy, in writing my cookbook, I always think about people doing things quickly. I always think about how many pots and pans that I'm going to use. But I want to say to Cindy, even if you have a healthy dinner for 2, I would probably make it for 4, just so you have leftovers for the next time. Steak, obviously, really quick. Anything that's individual, you can sear a steak, do any kind of like baked potatoes, that kind of thing. I happen to love salads. My husband and I do salads on the, like we do the chop. I'm just rambling here, but my husband and I do like this salad bar on the big cutting board. But then there we will always do like some kind of protein, because it's all about the protein, a little bit of protein and a lot of vegetables. So I always approach it that way. I'm not even sure if I'm really helping her.
No, this sounds
is
fabulous.
good.
Definitely.
I also make a lot of soups.
Okay.
I do chilies, but the thing is, for me, I never want to invest my time in just one meal for 2, because I want to have the freedom the next day to do whatever I want, and dinner's already done. But I love you because you are thinking about that, making that meal every single day. You know?
And I think maybe your next cookbook, 1 Couple, 2 Kitchens.
I think so. I want to do a podcast about that, 1 couple, 2 kitchens, because it's a challenge. It's a challenge. Yeah.
Yes. And you are doing podcasts as well. We'll put a link.
No, not yet. That's my dream. I'm
Well-
dreaming of doing a podcast. You are inspiring me right here.
Oh my goodness, thank you. Oh, and you are such an inspiration to me, Chef Carla Hall. As many of you listeners and viewers know, the reason I do Kitchen Chat is to honor my late father, who was a wonderful gourmet home chef, and my biggest regret in life was not going in the kitchen and learning how to cook. So I have been getting wonderful tips and recipes from Chef Carla and other chefs, and then cooking on film. So I have to share with you, I'll make sure I put the link to this. For the Oscars, I made your chocolate decadent bites. I made my very first ganache. I flipped a cake twice. Yay! It was so exciting. And so thank you. You have just truly inspired me to learn how to cook and do what my dad did not have a chance to share with me. So thank you. You are so dear.
You're so welcome. And I think the thing that you've displayed here, and I think this is probably why your viewers tune in, first you have to have the desire to cook. And secondly, you have to be willing to make a mistake, because things are not going to turn out. And to the woman who has the overcooked chicken, I mean, every time you overcook it, then cook it a little bit less each time. And and if you make a mistake, just try not to do it the next time. It's just like doing it again and again and again. You know how many times I've made biscuits? I definitely have my 10,000 hours in making biscuits. Now they're perfect.
Well, what I like to always summarize with 3 tips for the home chef. So, what would you provide our listeners and viewers?
Keep it simple. Season, understand how to season, and there's flavor in the brown. When you are searing and when there is color, when you have color on your food, you have flavor. So don't be afraid to actually turn up the heat and get some color in your food.
Great tips for the wonderful Chef Carla Hall. Thank you so much.
You're
Carla.
so welcome.
Oh, and thank you, dear listeners and viewers. I'll make sure I have links to all the exciting things that Chef Carla is doing. And thank you for joining me on this journey. And always remember to take a moment and savor the day.